So here we are. Just adjust my screen. So just to refresh our mind, today we are continuing with the theory of multi-spirits. Okay. So we have stopped here in light. So let me read a little bit above so we can start our study today. That is why we have stated that those who desire to seriously study this science must observe in a greater deal and for a long time, because only time will enable them to ascertain the details, notice the delicate nuances, and observe an infinite number of characteristics, facts that will shine like luminous ray of light. However, if they remain on the surface, they will expose themselves to making a premature and thus erroneous judgment. I think it's fair to say that we can use that in our lives, isn't it? Every time we try to make an opinion, before we really try to study or understand the subject, we may misinterpret the fact, we may misinterpret what is written, we misinterpret what we see. On the Spiritism is no different. A lot of things, even from the time of Kardec, could be considered as a fake, a make-up thing. Today is not different. We could see things that are not true, and if we do not pay enough attention, if we do not put ourselves in a situation that we have to learn, not only make an assumption, not only make a judgment, then things will be better for us. Let us take a look in the general results which we have arrived by making a complete observation of the subject. So Kardec is very assertive. We have to make a complete observation of something if we want to elaborate about it, if you want to give an opinion about it. And which, as of today, we have formulated the belief, so to speak, sorry, in the universality of spirits. For all the above listed, restrictive theories are no more than isolated opinions. The spirit phenomena are produced by extracorporeal intelligences, that is, by spirits. Do we have any doubt about it? Because this is one of the main aspects of the Spiritism. All the phenomena are made from external beings, external extracorporeal intelligences. Spiritists comprise the invisible world and are everywhere. They populate space to infinity. They are spirits who constantly surround us and with whom we are always in contact.
Bill, it's Christine from Australia.
Hi, Christine.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I just want to say that where you said the above listed restrictive theories are no more than isolated opinions, the more people that actually witness a spirit phenomena, the more accepted that observation would be, would it not?
Not necessarily. You do not convince people just showing the phenomena. We have a lot of cases where people have been acquainted with the phenomena and they do not believe. They do not believe. On the other hand, people that never saw the phenomena, but through the philosophy, through this study, they truly believe. So that is case by case, really, you know, and the most important is that we should be always trying to learn a little bit more about the subject, because none of us, we know enough. None of us know everything, right?
Thank you.
I remember here now, Christine, that I had the pleasure to work with some mediums that later in their lives, they decide to say that they did not believe what was happening. And they've been with me in mediumship meetings for years and years. I'm not talking about 2 or 3 years. I'm talking about more than 10 years. And simply they decide not to believe anymore. So people, case by case, I would say. So, but speaking about the item number 2, says that we have spirits around us all the time, everywhere. So even if you do not believe, if you do not want to have contact with the spirits, we have no choice. We will. We simply have no choice. We have no power to say to a spirit, get off. I don't want you here. I don't want you to come into my house. We have no power. What we can do is to prepare an atmosphere inside my house that make them uncomfortable. And if they are uncomfortable, they don't want to get there, right? So that's what we can do. Spiritists continuously act both upon the physical and mental worlds. And they are one of the powers of nature. Oh dear. How can a spirit act in the physical world? Anyone have any idea? Oh dear.
Christine again. Sorry. Did I jump in front of anybody else?
No, go on.
Yep. I was just about to say, well, they may be spirits that have not actually been able to understand that they're disincarnated and that they've been in a place where they feel comfortable and they're able to manipulate things, which is physical.
That's one possibility, but there is more.
Yeah.
Let me remind you all that you are spirits, and you all are able to interact in the physical world. So you are spirits, and because you have a physical body, you are able to interact in the physical world. But there is also spirits that have lost the physical bodies, so now they only have the perispirits, that they also can interact with the physical matter, but they cannot interact alone. They need to have an interface, if you like. They need to have medium of physical effects around them to allow them to interact with matter. So that's one of the possibilities, okay?
There's another way that can also happen. Is just the proximity of a spirit, can have an effect upon us. Like I read a case where there was a spirit with a very bad leg, and it came to a relative, not realizing that they had crossed over, and the person then developed problems with their leg. So they went to a spiritist center, and they realized the spirit was there for 1 year or something in their home, wondering why the incarnate was not talking to them, but letting them sit on the sofa or whatever. And then they realized that was the problem with their leg that they had. So they just, helped the spirit move on and realize their condition. And then the problem with the leg went away, which the doctors couldn't resolve. So just proximity can.
Yeah, that's true. I have forgot that, to be honest. Thank you, Saul. And that is an influence of the spirit in the matter. Yeah, that's right. That good one. Thank you. So item 4, spirits were not created as separate class of entities. They are the souls of those who have lived either on earth or on other worlds, and who have shed the corporeal envelope. Hence, it follows that the souls of men and women are incarnated spirits who at death become spirits once again. 5, there are spirits of every degree of goodness or unmalice, of wisdom and ignorance. They are subject to the law of progress, and all may achieve perfection. But depending on how they employ their free will, they will achieve it in a short time or long time, according to their own efforts and volition. The idea number 6 is pretty interesting because it is telling us that we have the power to define our future. We have the power to decide if we will suffer more or less. We will have the power to say if we will be a better person or not, if we'll move faster or not. So we are the one making the decisions about ourselves. But quite often we try to blame others, blame other people, or blame spirits if something is going wrong. We have to remember that we have the power. Hi, Sandra.
Sorry, is that English question? Volition? I have no idea.
Will. It means will.
Sorry?
W-I-L-L, will.
Will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
If you want, you can. They are happy or unhappy, depending on the amount of good or evil they did during their lifetime and the degree of development they achieved. Perfect. And unallow it, kind of. Happiness is only attained by those who have reached the highest degree of purification. 8, under certain circumstances, all spirits can manifest themselves to humans, and the number of those who can communicate is unlimited. So when we think about only a, let's say like a class of spirits communicating, that's not true. Any spirit can communicate with us. Spirits communicate through mediums who serve as the instruments and interpreters. 10. One can recognize whether spirits are more evolved or less evolved by their language. Good spirits only offer good counsel and say only good things. Everything attests to their advancement. Evil spirits deceive, and all their words bear the stamps of imperfection and ignorance. Sorry, guys. Well, I'll come back to this one here. The various degrees of thought, the various degrees through which spirits pass comprise the spirit hierarchy, the spirit's book, chapter, blah, blah, blah. The study of this classification system is indispensable for evaluating both the nature of the spirits who manifest and their good and bad qualities. So we have on the item 10, 2 things we have to pay attention. 1, the most important, Medium's book is not a standalone book. It's not a standalone source of knowledge. We always have to refrain to the other books to have a better and fully understanding of a few things. Primary example is the classification of the spirits mentioned here in the end, right? The spirits hierarchy is very well detailed and cleared enough in the spirits book. So I encourage everyone to go to the spirits book because it's a wonderful book as well. And the other thing is here, he's saying that only by the language, well, he's not saying only by the language, saying that by the language we can recognize the spirits if they are good or bad. I think we can evolve a little bit more that sentence. By the language, by the action, by the energy. Because we all can fake what goes out from our mouth. We all can do that. We cannot do that for all the time, but we can do that for a period of time enough to trick less attentive people. But we cannot hide our energy. We cannot hide the product or what we are or what we do. Okay?
Yeah, it's Christine again.
Maxine.
I'm just going back to number 9, where it talked about spirits communicate through mediums who serve as their instruments and interpreters. It can sort of, well, I think, I don't know if I'm right here, but link with number 10, because you can have the disincarnated spirits who offer good counsel by language and thought and action, but you have mediums at different levels, so they can be influencing as well, or not really understanding what the disincarnated spirit's wanting or thinking.
Let us talk first, Christine, about mediums of different levels. We have mediums with different levels of commitment. We have mediums with different level of commitment to study, to practice, to do charity. Yes, in that sense, we have mediums with the different levels. But the mediumship characteristics, I would not classify that in levels. I would classify that in specificities, if I may, because I may be a medium that only write, I may be a medium that only talk, I may be a medium just by intuition, but it doesn't mean that one is more evolved, if I can use that word, than the other, okay? I think that every medium can receive any message from any level of spirit, providing he or she is really devoting enough time, is serious about it, is very committed, and then you open your possibilities. But there is no such a thing like a medium that only receives suffering spirits, or a medium that only receives benefactors, or a medium that just received well-known discarnate people like presidents, governors, things like that. There's no such a thing. A medium is a channel. It's like a water pipe. The water flows from one direction. What we can do is to make the water flow a bit more difficult. If you do have some, let's say, calcaire in the line, you start to create more restriction for that flow. And then communication will be a bit more difficult. If I clean my pipes as a routine, then I'll be able to better receive any message from any spirit. I'm not sure if I answered your question, did I?
No, you did.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yep. Thank you.
So now we are moving to the item 50. Material soul theory. This theory consists solely of a particular opinion about the essential nature of soul, according to which the soul and the perispirit are not distinct from each other, or rather, the perispirit is the soul itself, which is gradually purified through several transmigrations, like alcohol is purified through several distillations. Let's go through this theory, because I can see things missing here already in that sentence. So let's continue, and then we can have a chat about it. In the Spiritist doctrine, however, the perispirit is considered as a simply being the fluidic envelope of the soul or spirit. Since the perispirit is a type of matter, albeit highly etherealized, then for the theory in question, the soul would also be a nature that is more material or less so, according to its degree of purification. It's a long one. So the second sentence already clarified what came to my mind. And we have to remember that there is a difference between what is our spirit and what is our spiritual body. Our physical body, I can say, is a spiritual body too, because it will cover up my spirit. My perispirit also covers up my spirit. So it's very easy to mix both, but spirit is like the light we have inside ourselves, that is our spirit. Anything else is or can be a spiritual body. Okay. This principle does not invalidate any of the fundamental principles of the spirit doctrine, since nothing changes in the relation to the soul destiny. The conditions for its future happiness are exactly the same, with the soul and perispirit forming a whole known as a spirit, like the germ and perisperm from a unit known as the fruit. The entire matter may be reduced to regarding the whole as homogeneous instead of being composed of two distinct parts. If you guys have any question, please stop me anytime, all right? If you want to jump in, please do. As can be seen, this issue is of little consequence, and we would not have addressed it at all if we had not encountered persons who were inclined to see a new school where, in fact, there was nothing more than a simple interpretation of words.
Gil, it's Christine again, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Could you just give a bit more information about like the germ and perisperm from a unity known as the fruit? Yeah, if you could just explain that a bit more for me.
The name given by Kardec to our spiritual body was Perispirit, because he, as a man of science, he used a fruit as reference for what he came up with. If you see a seed of an orange, that cover around the seed of an orange is called perisperma. And the fruit itself is enveloped the perisperma of the seed. So basically, he made a comparison. He tried to make a link between something he knew to something he had to come up with a name. So our spirit is inside the seed. The perisperma of the seed is the perispirit, and the orange itself is our physical body. So basically, he made that, he used that as reference to come up with the word, the name perispirit.
That makes sense.
I'm glad you think like that, because it does, isn't it? It's very nice. And then we start to compare a little bit things. Imagine we come up with something entirely new. We have to start from somewhere to try to come up with a different name, a different word, and that's what he did. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Guilherme. Hi, everyone. Guilherme, I prefer the avocado. I think we can see better the stone in the center, the flesh, and then the skin. But it's very subtle, this theory, because within Spiritism, we know that the spirit itself is a spark. It's not a body, it's a spark. And it is enveloped by something that is material, that comes from the same initial source, which is the physical body, but in a different degree of subtlety. But for them here, the perispirit is also part of the spirit, as if the spirit had also with it the same nature, that body which we call perispirit. And what Kardec is saying is that, well, to understand the normal phenomena that take place, it wouldn't make much difference. But for us Spiritists, as we evolve, we condense this fluid around us to form our spiritual body of a lesser and lesser dense type of matter. But it's different, it's still matter. And the essence is the spirit, which could be seen as a spark. But according to this theory we are studying now, it's just one thing. So the spirit, the perispirit will always, although it will evolve, it will always be with the spirits. But for us Spiritists, one day, basically the spirit will be so evolved that it is as if there is nothing around but just the spirit, no perispirit anymore. It will be there perhaps in a very, very subtle way that perhaps we can't even conceive at this moment. And it is as if there's nothing there, because the spirit comes from one element and the perispirit from a different element. But for them, for this theory, it's just one thing, the spirit and the perispirit. And although the perispirit will change, but will always be part of the essence, the spirit. And that's why Kardec is saying it doesn't make much difference to understand the general phenomena within Spiritism. But let's see what he's going to say now about this interpretation of words and see where it leads us.
Mm-hmm. As ever, everything is open to interpretation, right? So we need to be very careful how we interpret something to give us a strong basis for what we want to do. This theory is quite restricted, but even if it were not, it would no more mean that it is a ashism, is a schism among spirits, than the two theories about the emission of the undulation of light would indicate a division among physicists. Those who want to go, they separate ways over such a childish issue, prove that they give more importance to the accessories than to the principle itself. And they are incited to dissension by spirits who cannot be good. For good spirits would never want to sow the seed of acrimony and discord. For that reason, we have urged all the true spirits to guard themselves against the suggestions and not to attract a greater importance to certain details than they deserve. The core is what is essential. Something came to my mind when I was reading that here is, what is essential on the spiritism? As far as I believe, what is essential on the spiritism is to practice charity and to become better people ourselves. If I do not, what am I doing there? If I'm not improving myself as a spirit, and if I'm not finding resources to practice charity on the spiritism, it lost the purpose for me. So that's why I like to say that if any moment in time you see any spiritist telling you not to do charity or giving you advices not to do charity for any reason, think about it. Try to find the true meaning of what you want to do or what he or she is telling you not to do. Because Spiritism will always give you the incentive to practice charity. Nevertheless, we believe we should mention a few words about what those who hold it so and the Perispirit as being two distinct principles base their opinion upon. It is based upon the teaching of the spirits themselves who have never differed in this respect. We are alluding to enlightened spirits. However, because among spirits in general, there are many who do not know anymore, and even many who know much less than human beings know, while the opposing theory is a human conception. We neither invented nor dreamed up the existence of the perispirit in order to explain the spirit phenomena. Its existence was revealed to us by the spirits themselves, and observation confirmed it. Spirit's book. So we can see on the Spirit's book more detail about it. It was further supported by studying the sensations of the spirits, and especially in the phenomena involving tangible apparitions, which for others would imply the solidification and subsequent disaggregation of the elements comprising the soul, and consequently its disorganization. So just to give a little bit of food for thought, what Kardec is saying here, that when he started to evaluate, to study what we call materialization of the spirit, it became patent that the perispirit was the way that was possible, right? So to people that are not familiar with that, materialization meetings is a place that has a massive preparation before it happens, where under certain circumstances, the spirits, they reacquire temporarily the matter. They can touch you, you can touch them, you can feel pressure, you can feel temperature, you can feel heartbeats, right? But this is just for a period of time, not for days or something like that, right? It happens in an hour or so in that particular meeting, depending on the participants. Furthermore, it would be necessary to admit that such a matter of the apparitions, which could be perceptible to our senses. Hi, Munir, go on.
Okay, sorry, Graham, I didn't want to interrupt you. Just to mention, Kardec here, he talks about the Spirit's book, because the Spirit's book had already been published when he published the Medium's book. But don't forget Genesis. Genesis talks about these aspects of the perispirit in greater detail. But because Genesis was published after this for the first time, that's why Kardec doesn't mention the book Genesis here. But we know there are 5 books, and the 5 books together are very important. So I advise people to look at the Spirit's book, but also remember that Genesis is the most scientific of all the 5 books, and he's got very detailed explanation for perispirit, fluids, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Where I stopped. I'll read again. Furthermore, it would be necessary to admit that such a matter, which could become perceptible to our senses, an intelligence principle itself, which would be no more rational than confusing the body of this with the soul, or clothing with the body. As for the inmost nature of the soul, we know nothing. And it's still pretty much the same nowadays. We know virtually nothing about the spirit itself. We don't know how it has been created. We don't know which kind of matter it is made. It has to be made from something, right? We do not know. We do not know. There are some theories, but a theory has to be validated to be considered as something else. When we state that it is immaterial, we must understand the term is in a relative and not in absolute sense, because absolute immateriality would be nothingness, right? The soul or spirit is something, however. So basically, the spirit itself is something, but we have no information about what it is, what it's made of, how it works, how we don't know. We have a hard time to understand nowadays the spiritual body. Nevertheless, the spirit is something that we're not even close to understand. When we state that it is material, we understand, oops, nothing, no, nothing, whoa, whatever, okay. What we mean to say, therefore, is that its essence is so highly evolved that there is absolutely no analogy to what we call matter per se. And that is why for us it is immaterial. Trying to work a little bit of sense, we are calling immaterial what is something, right? If it's something, may not be matter per se, but is a bunch of electrons, a bunch of photons, we don't know. It's something, right? And
So-
isn't that, go on.
Sorry, Gil, it's Christine again. So basically, what you're saying is, and what it alludes to in this sentence is that it doesn't matter what matter or how the spirits are made. The fact that they're there is what we should be concentrating on.
Mhm. Entirely, I agree with you 100%. But eventually, maybe in a couple of centuries from now, people may have access to what it is, something we don't have today. I mean,
Oh, hi, Guilherme. Now, just to mention, because we know perispirit fluids, physical body, all is matter, according to Spiritism. And when I talk about matter in our world, here in the physical world, made up of the 118 elements in the periodic table we know in chemistry and physics, I call dense matter, because it is a state of the same matter, but dense, just like water in 3 states, in vapor, liquid, and solid. Here in the physical world, we have solid water, we have solid matter, dense matter. But the perispirit is also materials, matter. The fluids that the spirits use, and this part is the element in the spiritual world is also matter. But the essence, spiritual essence, our essence is spiritual, is of a different nature. And the other thing is just, I don't know if people are aware, Kardec calls soul a spirit who is in a physical body momentarily. So while we are here, we have our souls. But when we lose the physical body, return to spirits, then we are just called the spirits. That's why he mentions soul and spirit, and sometimes I don't know if it's clear for everyone. And while we are here, we all have souls, all of us here in this meeting. But those in spirit, they have spirits. So when the spirit takes up a physical body, the perispirit and the spirit are called soul.
very good topic, Munir. So let me ask you something. Is soul and spirit the same thing?
Yeah, according to Kardec, he calls, if you're an incarnate, spirit, you have a soul, you're a soul. But when we return to spirit, we lose our physical body, then it's just called spirit. So soul is an incarnate spirit.
So I hope we all understand, because I had a hard time to understand.
Yes, yeah. And people talk about soul as the essence, the soul of, of my theory. I mean, the essence of my thing. But, you can talk about that for hours. But I understand just that, we all have souls. Our spirits now is called soul because we have a physical body. But when we return to spirit, we'll be called just the spirit.
I think it was also just, it was at that time, it was important to use that term. So, it's kind of historical, and so, yeah, they're interchangeable for us. But at that time, it was necessary to use,
clarify things.
word.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Charles.
Hi, everyone. I just would like to add that when you look to the definition of the word âme, which is soul in French, the most common definition of it is when you use it, for instance, that in the city of Paris, you have 1 million souls, which means individualities, different individualities incarnated. And this is why Kardec used the word soul for the spirit when it is incarnated. Yes, and he used spirits. We see spirits, or we hear spirits. The medium hears spirits when the soul, basically, or when the spirit is disincarnated. It comes from that. I don't know if it's the same sense of, as you can say that in London there are 10 million souls, but that is where it comes from the French definition of the word.
Very nice. Very nice. I didn't know that. I did not know that. So.
Well, actually, sorry, it's Christine again. For example, when there's a aeroplane crash, all you hear is how many souls were on board. And in other situations, they say, how many souls were involved? So I guess, yeah, as Charles mentioned.
Same meaning, no?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's clear as everything to me now. Thank you for clarifying all that.
Well, let's move on then. 51. Following the response by one spirit with regards to the matter. What some call the perispirit is the same as that what others call the fluidic material envelope. So that I may make myself understood in the most logical manner, I would state that this fluid is the perfectibility of the senses, the extension of both sides untaught. But I am referring to highly evolved spirits. As for imperfect spirits, they are still completely impregnated with earthly fluids. Thus, they are matter as you understand it. Consequently, they experience hunger, cold, etc. Experiences that cannot touch high order spirits, since the earthly fluids have already been distilled out of their thought, i.e., their soul. In order to progress, the soul always requires an agent, without which it would appear to be nothing to you, or better, you would not be able to conceive of it. We errant spirits regarded the perispirit as the agent through which we communicate with you, whether directly by means of our body or perispirit, or directly with your soul. Hence, the infinite variety of both mediums and communications. As for the scientific standpoint, i.e., the very essence of the perispirit itself, that is another subject. First, you should understand its logical possibility. That would leave a discussion on the nature of the fluids, which is inexplicable for now, since science does not yet know enough about them. So just stopping here, he's saying that at that time, he could not find explanation. Even nowadays, we have a hard time to find explanation in science. But I understand that earthly science, not in the spiritual science, because probably they know way more than we know here. But we'll finally understand then if it is wishes to keep pace with the spiritism. So he's also telling us here to fully understand the spiritism, we need to be acquainted with our perispirit, the perispirit characteristics. And sometimes that's not happening. We don't, on the Spiritist center, we don't give enough attention for this subject. The perispirit may vary and change infinitely, whereas the soul is the intelligence. Its nature does not change. do not go any further on this subject, for it is a question that cannot yet be explained. Don't you realize that I too am investigating the matter as you are? You are researching the perispirit while we are currently researching the soul. Therefore, wait. And that is Spirit Lamine. Interesting, the answer. Very interesting. Sometimes you want to go too fast.
Gil, it's Christine again.
Yeah.
So if this Spirit Laminae has told us to wait, how old's this mediumship book that we're referring to?
We are now 180 years, approximately.
How long does he want us to wait? How long is it going to take them to tell us?
I think that to answer that question, Christine, is how long will it take to us to take that subject seriously, and then really investigate beyond any creed. Just investigate, right? I think that is the way I see it. But I'm pretty sure that we'll have a better answer now because I need help from Charles.
No, I don't have this pretension. But basically, Lamine is asking us to wait for understanding the intrinsical nature of the perispirit and the soul. And indeed, the science did not reach that yet. What we would expect first is the science to admit that there is something on top of the dense matter, as said by MUNIR a few minutes ago, or what I call also Einsteinian matter, which is the matter which follows the law of physics as we know today. So once the science admits this, that there is soul, that there is spirit, that there is perispirits or different forms of matter, then the science will progress in a way that will enable to understand better its nature. And this is what basically the spirit of Lamine is saying. Today we know enough to make charity, to help, to assist the soul in mediumistic meetings and so on. So we know enough to start working in favor of the souls. We just don't know enough in order to understand very accurately the nature of them, the intrinsical nature of them. And that is why he asks us to wait, not for practicing mediumship or something like this.
Thanks, Charles.
Can I say something? Oh, sorry, Christine, go on.
Sorry.
Are you going or am I?
Your turn.
I
Lee.
was, sorry. I'll wait.
Right,
I'll
Christine,
wait.
I'm going now. I'm going now. Well, I do understand that today quantum physics and its development has been showing great progress for us to understand matter more closely the way Kardec and the spirits enlightened us back then than further away from it, because we have a more understanding that everything that we touch is actually energy. And my understanding as well is that this word energy was not really used that with the understanding that we have now in the days of Kardec. And I don't know if this word was very commonly expressed in science back then. That is my understanding. But the more we go on, I don't think we are too far, but also understanding the pace of science. It takes decades for things to be discovered. And what is it along the years, isn't it? Maybe we will see something like that happening, maybe we will not. But many things now that's been discovered lately has been more towards what Kardec has been explaining to us and what the Spirit's been enlightening us. And just reading André Louise just put so much more light on perispirit and its properties and the interaction with the body, things that happen in the perispirit level that affects us in the body. So like this literature from this spirit is so rich on perispirit that I really, really, when we are all more familiar with what perispirit really is, it's really good to have a read in André Luiz's literature.
Munir, your turn.
Oh, thanks again. You know, what I was just going to say is that I understand what Lamennais was saying here. Therefore, wait, not sitting down and waiting for things to come ready to us, but he's already saying you are researching the perispirit. Do it and be calm. Just wait for the right time. We can't just want to try to understand things that are further ahead if we can't understand what is right in front of us. What he's saying is be patient. Just carry on doing your research, because we are researching something more advanced. It is the essence of the spirit, but it will come at the right time. That's what I got from his message.
I'm just going to go back here with the subject of soul, because I saw a message from Elsa saying that at that time, the Catholics, they use a lot the word soul. So possibly, I guess the Spiritism came breaking barriers at the time. So we could not break all the barriers in the single go. So that was also one of the reasons why he used soul as well, so people would feel more comfortable.
Yeah, we see that many times. It gets a bit confusing sometimes, but he defined it precisely once, and that's what we should take.
But now I have a curiosity. Who was Lamennais? Do we know? I don't know.
Yes. It was an ecclesiastic guy. He was from the Catholic Church, but took some liberty with regards to the Vatican or the Roman Church hierarchy. And Kardec knew him personally. They were both members of the Historical Institute in Paris, where they had meetings together, Lacordaire, Lamennais, and Rivail at that time. And he desincarnated just before the 1855 or so.
Interesting. Good to know. So let's see. Well, it's a long one. What time is it? We missed 6 minutes. So I will start here, reading here, and then if we cannot finish, we continue last week.
Gil, can I, sorry, it's Christine again.
Christine.
Can I just say one thing? I don't know if it's realistic, if it'll ever happen, but the periodic table, if it is ever proven the type of matter that spirits have, would the scientific community be trying to add that to the periodic table? Perhaps that's another subject for another time, or not in this forum, I don't know. But
no, I don't think so. I think the periodic table should be amended, extended, because the periodic table is applying only for dense matter. When we go out of the dense matter, the concept have to be extended to that less dense form of matter.
Yeah, if I may say so, it's just a practical way to catalog atoms. But we now have subparticles. Now we have quarks and leptons, and we'll have a different table for that.
If I remember well, the way the periodic table came to life was one scientist who had an intuition overnight, and then he started to put something together like the periodic table. So eventually, another scientist will have another intuition, and then that table will expand. Because I truly believe on the spiritual world, they know already much more about what are the matter they are interacting with, then we know about what we interact with. So eventually, that two, if I can say like that, these two periodic tables will merge into a single one. How long that would take? That's another thing. But
Guilherme, if I may add, there is already a table. People working with particle physics. There is already a table of the type of particle. If they are up and down, they have very strange names. There are particles that are called strange also. Their behavior is strange. And then you have light, and then you have, basically it's another table, but it's not practical from the chemical point of view. You know, for chemistry, you have to work with the periodic table to make up the substances. But for physics, particle physics, there is already another table where you have the forces of the universe, the particles that compose every type of matter, and light including in that.
Very nice.
And all this is still not enough to talk about this less. I mean, even the table of particles is only for dense matter. It's not, we know that perispirit is not dense matter. So this table of elements and of particles does not yet depend the semi-material or ethereal matter or less dense matter. A new concept has to be brought.
Very nice, isn't it? That shows us how much we have to learn, how much we have to invest in science. And I may not see all of it, but I'm pretty sure that before I'm going away, I should see something changing. I hope. Well, guys, it was very nice to have you all here today. Our study is pretty good as always. So let me stop sharing the book here for just a minute. And I will stop our recording now. And